The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is a super popular and highly rated game. Some people say that it's one of the most epic games of all time. I remember seeing the game on top 10 lists and stuff when I was little, so I thought that I should check it out. The problem was I was so terrible at games when I was little. I'd constantly get stuck on really easy stuff, and I didn't use online guides and walkthroughs, so it was ultra rare for me to ever finish a game. It would be cool to know what the first game I ever finished was, but I don't remember. Since Zelda games usually try and get you to figure out what to do yourself without any help, I never really got far in any of them, except for the Wind Waker, which I really liked, but then my save file disappeared before I could finish it. I will play it again someday though, maybe as part of this review series. Fast forward to 2024, I finally got a DS after 7 zillion years of wanting one. It's a black and turquoise new 2DS XL, and I love it. I was super excited to play a bunch of Nintendo games. I've always been interested in Nintendo games, but I actually haven't finished that many. The first game I got from my DS was The World Ends With You. It was a super good game, which I might make a video on it sometime. But the first 3DS game I got was Ocarina of Time 3D, which I started playing at Pizza Hut. When I turned the game on, the title screen was scary. There was hyper-realistic blood, and Zelda was dead, and Link was also dead. Just kidding. It's actually just Link riding Epona through Hyrule Field, but there's really nice music in the background. The screen ends by showing the entrance to the Kokiri Forest, where the adventure begins. Hi, I thought I should put like an introduction thing since this is my first real video. I'm RideAway1, but most people call me my real name, which I'm not telling you. I like YouTube and video games and anime and being with my friends and drawing and cats and pizza and I don't know what else to say. Bye. The forest is inhabited by the Kokiri. They're these kids who have fairies and never grow up. They get looked after by this big tree called the Deku Tree, but one of the Kokiri doesn't have a fairy. His name is Link, or whatever you decide to call him. When we first see Link, he's sleeping in his house and having a nightmare. In the nightmare, a drawbridge opens on a stormy night and 2 people ride away one on a white horse. Link turns and looks at them, but when he turns back, Ganondorf appears riding a black horse. It's easy to tell he's a bad guy, from the music that plays when he appears, and from how scared Link looks. In the morning, the Deku Tree tells this fairy called Navi that something evil is happening, and that Link has to stop it. He asks Navi to go and get Link.
Hello.
Navi flies around. She greets the different people as she goes and even bumps into a fence on accident, which adds more character to the scene. It's a pretty cool way of establishing the location. For some reason, a lot of people hate Navi and find her annoying, but I thought she was helpful and I really liked her voice line. Anyway, after finally waking up, we get out of our house and get greeted by our friend Saria. She congratulates us on getting a fairy and says she'll be waiting for us to come back. Now we get to learn the controls and explore for a bit. The Kokiri Forest is a great first area. There's a lot of rupees hidden around which encourages you to explore, and if you talk to the other kids, they teach you some of the basics of the game, like how to lock on, how to pick up objects, and other helpful things like that. The controls feel really good in this game, even though it's 26 years old. It's fun to roll around, and the auto jump over platforms works pretty well. Anyway, we go to see the Deku Tree, but this annoying kid Mido is blocking the path. He won't let us through until we have a sword and a shield. We can buy a shield from the Kokiri shop, but it costs 40 rupees, which means we have to explore for a bit to get enough cash. One of the ways we can get rupees is to go into someone's house and steal all their money. We get the shield, but we still need a sword. It's up this slope and through some fences in this forest training center area. I spent a while looking for it in the Lost Woods though, which is this weird maze-like area where if you take a wrong turn, you get sent back to the entrance. Kids who get lost in this area turn into Skull Kids, who are these weird, mischievous little kids with wooden faces who play the flute and hate adults. One of them will be important in the sequel. On the 3DS version, there's this strange Sheikah Stone thing in the forest. It shows you a short video clip of what to do if you're stuck when you interact with it. Some people don't like this because it makes the game too easy, but I thought it was helpful, and it's not like the game forces you to use them. Anyway, now that we know where to go, we go up the slope and through the fences. We can talk to a Kokiri here, who teaches us that we can dodge and flip in different directions, which is pretty cool and epic and fun. We crawl through this tunnel and dodge past a big boulder. We find a chest that has the Kokiri sword in. The item description says we can borrow it, but we never end up giving it back. Midon lets us past and we have an encounter with the first enemies of the game. It's these piranha plant things. They lunge at you, but they're really easy to dodge and kill. Sometimes they drop a Deku stick, which you can use as a weapon. They break really easily, but they also have another use which will be important later. When you get near an enemy, a different song starts playing that's more exciting and dangerous sounding. I think the combat in the game is pretty fun and cool. When we get to the Deku tree, he tells us that there's a curse in him. He wants us to break the curse, and then we go into his mouth to start the first dungeon of the game. The music here adds a lot to the atmosphere. It feels kind of scary and oppressive, but it also makes you wonder what mysteries you'll find deeper in the dungeon. The inside of the Deku tree is dark and covered in cobwebs. The dungeon is mostly simple, but there are a few parts where you have to think outside the box. In the dungeon we encounter some new enemies, like these mini spiders, and the big spiders, and these little things called Deku scrubs. They shoot seeds that you have to reflect with your shield. Early on in the dungeon, we find the dungeon map and a slingshot, which we can use to shoot down the spiders so we can safely climb up the webs. Up here we meet the big spiders, who for some reason have human-looking skulls as backs. Up here, there's a room with the compass inside. The compass is quite a useful item because it shows us where all the items are in the dungeon. Next to the compass is a gold spider. There's a lot of these hidden throughout the game, and you can kill them all for a side quest. I didn't manage to find them all though. We tried to leave the room, but the door's closed behind us. To get out, we have to light a torch thing on fire. It took me a little while to figure out how, but then I remembered I had the Deku stick. You have to put the Deku stick into the fire and then take it to the torch to light it. At the entrance to the dungeon, there's a huge spiderweb with another area underneath. I spent a little while trying to figure out how to get down there, but then I realised if I jumped from really high up, I could break through the web, and it worked. After a few simple puzzles and rooms, we get to an annoying section where you have to defeat 3 Deku scrubs in a certain order. A different Deku scrub earlier is meant to tell you the order, but I guess I just didn't notice, so I had to Google it after being confused for a while. Anyway, we enter into the next room and the door closes behind us. In this dark cave area, we fight the first boss of the game, the parasitic armored arachnid, Goma. Goma is the curse that the Deku tree was talking about earlier. The boss fight